good evening, and welcome to the worst ever series here at Holler If You Hear Me. My name's Andy, the kayfabe assassin. Tonight I'm joined by the casual man Fraz and the ring historian Dirty Dave. And tonight, like every time we do a worst ever series, we're going to cover off the absolute worst elements of wrestling. This week, it is the Royal Rumble winners. There is quite a field to pick from, but we're going to choose our 5 worst Rumble winners each. They will be given a point score, and by the end of this, we'll find out the definitive answer to the question, who is the worst ever Royal Rumble winner? Please like, share, and subscribe to the video, and yeah, hope you enjoy it. So we'll kick things off, as we so often do, by picking on Dirty Dave. Go ahead for it, Dave. Can we have your number 5, please?
Oh, you're starting off. I wasn't ready for this. Worst ofs. I get really passionate about best ofs, and I get really passionate about worst ofs. But if you want me to go first, I'll go first. I'm in such a good mood as well. Bear with.
I'll go.
No. It's coming.
I'm gonna go.
No, I've got it.
Go.
Right. My number 5 pick. Is the only female that I'm going to pick in my top 5 worst Royal Rumble winners, and that is I'm going to take everybody back to the Women's Royal Rumble in 2022, and I'm going to pick Ronda Rousey. Absolutely hated this woman. Thought she was absolutely dreadful. Hated her gimmick. Thought her style could work. You know, female Ken Shamrock sort of thing, but pants. Was never over enough, I don't think. Was never committed enough. And it just did absolutely nothing for me. And there was tons of other people in that Rumble that should have won that match. Tons of other women that should have won that match. Just couldn't stand her. Can't stand her. Never could stand her. Definitely didn't want to see her win a Royal Rumble. And what does she do? Wins the title, has a mediocre run, loses the title, goes and has a baby, cries and talks shit about WWE. Got no respect for her. Not interested. Jog on. Ruined the Royal Rumble. Burn in hell.
Whoa.
And that was your number 5.
That's my number
Jesus
5.
Christ. I think Ronda had a little bit of potential. I won't say she was the best ever, but she certainly came in with a lot of potential. But potential will only get you so far, as they say.
Yeah, she could have been great. I think if she had the right attitude and she didn't have this weird sort of Roddy Piper gimmick with some sort of schoolgirls entrance music, and it just nothing made sense. You're wrapping up, a Ken Shamrock, Brock Lesnar style wrestler and making her look like Don the Clown. So I'm not saying it's all her fault, but that's probably why she just never looked right. But she was, bad acting. She wasn't good at the sports entertainment side of things. Totally the wrong gimmick. Tons of better people should have won that Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion.
Yeah. I don't know. She came in with a lot of hype. I wouldn't say she came in with a lot of potential. There was a lot of hype around her, and I didn't know you hated anyone more than Becky Lynch, but it sounds like you do hate Ronda Rousey.
I would have rather Becky Lynch won that match.
Okay,
well, there you go. Fraz, would you like to take your turn at giving us your number 5 entrant?
My number 5 entrant is a Royal Rumble from 2014 with a certain Mr. Dave Batista. No one wanted Dave Batista to win. Got booed out of the fucking building. Final 4 with Sheamus, Roman Reigns and CM Punk. Daniel Bryan was massively over that year. Wasn't even in the match. He had a match with Bray Wyatt before, which he lost. To make things worse, Batista won the Royal Rumble, had a feud with Randy Orton. It was so shit they had to get Daniel Bryan in to save the event, and he lost. The guy he was doing, wearing skinny jeans and doing Hollywood movies, came back, and they just weren't into Batista. And if you actually, and I have done my research, I watched the final four, and he was awful. I mean,
Yeah.
some of his spears he was doing were just crazy. He just looked so stiff in the ring, and he came out smiling, but you could see as the crowd were like hating him, he couldn't hide the fact that he was so pissed off that everyone hates him now. So for me, that was the reason why it's number 5.
Perfectly legitimate.
Completely. Such
Well,
a shame.
Yeah, I mean, there is no notes on that one. I think that's a pretty comprehensive answer there, Big Ben. So, yeah.
Very passionately delivered. Well done.
Indeed. My number 5. My number 5 is one Alberto Del Rio from Royal Rumble 2011. They booked this to be the biggest Royal Rumble at the time ever, with 40 entrants. 40 entrants, 40 people from this roster that was stacked at the time. And you chose to give it to this notable prick, this arsehole. I mean, granted, we didn't necessarily know he was quite such an arsehole at the time, but as it turns out, massive, massive dickhead, who I personally I don't know the guy, obviously, but from everything I read, everything I've ever seen, everything I've ever known about this guy from what I've read, don't like the sound of him at all, and I'm glad to be rid of him. Unfortunately, it looks like he may be coming back, which I certainly hope not. But yeah, the point of this match that gets me is that he last eliminated Santino Marella. Santino Marella was the last entrant he eliminated, and the crowd were going crazy for the opportunity, for the perspective of Santino actually winning the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
So much so that he actually got into the Elimination Chamber, I think, this year. As well. So he actually got all the way through to the Elimination Chamber as well on the back of the hype that he brought out of the Rumble, and yet they still gave it to Alberto Del Rio. Vibes. Don't like the guy. That's my reason he's number 5. Moving on, should we change it up a bit? How about Fraz? Can you give us your number 4 entrant, please?
So you won't be shocked to understand that I have also picked Alberto Del Rio. That's my number 4. Mid as hell at the time, like you said. Everything you said. First and only 40-man battle royal, stacked to the brim. The fact that Santino Marella was the last man to be eliminated says it all. I mean, what were they thinking? I know, we'll try and create a main eventer. Let's pick a poor man's version of a Mexican JBL. And then goes on to WrestleMania, fights Edge,
And
loses in the opening match, and then Edge fucking retires the next night. Like,
and then he loses. Does he lose to Christian the next night as well?
And then loses to Christian, yeah. You know, you could have picked Daniel Bryan, you could have picked CM Punk. As you say, it was stacked, but...
Yeah, they started the fucking match as well. Those two.
Yeah. So, for me, that's my number 4.
And a perfectly reasonable number 4 it is as well, sir. Well done.
Yeah.
Dave, with your permission, I'll go next, if that's okay, because I feel like you're going to maybe have a little bit of a head explosion here. My number 4 is the only woman on this list for me. It's one Charlotte Flair from 2025. At no point did she desert. So we've gone back and forth recently about who needs to win the Money in the Bank and who needs to win this and who needs to win that. At no point did Charlotte need to win Royal Rumble. For no reason. The match she had with Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania bore very little fruit. I didn't think it was a particularly good match. The build to that match was pretty poor too. Lots of little bitchy snipes between the two of them. It just all seemed very catty and unnecessary. And I would wager that 90% of that comes from the fact that Charlotte Flair is a bitch who is literally in it for herself every step of the way. There's a reason that every single person that she's ever had a friendship with no longer likes her. Becky can't stand her. Paige doesn't talk to her. Sasha doesn't talk to her. None of them like her because she's a Nepo baby 101. Awful. That Rumble itself had excellent participants as well. Bayley was in that match looking and working absolutely brilliantly. And was Io in that match? Io would have been in that match, I'm sure. Because I think was Rhea in the match. I can't actually remember now. But either way, doesn't matter. Charlotte shouldn't have won. She's third.
I think there is. I mean, why don't you tell it how it is, Andy? Jesus.
I think you don't like Alberto Del Rio because he comes across as the bloke who, when you go down the pub, won't buy his round and does a runner, and you don't like Charlotte Flair because just you think she's a bitch.
Yeah, she is. Oh, ironically enough, they were perfect for each other. Both just notable pricks. They're just awful people, horrible people. Guarantee.
Well,
I guarantee you love her in the ring. You love her in ring, and I have a funny feeling if you met her in person, and spent any more than 5 minutes with her, she'd come across as a totally insufferable person that you wouldn't want to spend time with. Just a vibe. I get a vibe from her.
I'm going to be a mediator here between the two of you.
No, I wasn't going to say anything else.
As a reason for putting it in the worst Royal Rumble winners, top 5, yeah, I can agree with that. She didn't need to win that.
I agree, yeah, 100%.
But then your reasons do come across as quite personal in your hatred towards.
Oh, vindictive, maybe.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Bret Hart in your top 3.
Oh my god! Right,
oddly.
Let's move on. He can't do that because then he has to hate Lex Luger as well. So, and he won't do that. So, all right, my number 4. We haven't spoke about him enough so far. So thank you for that because that gives me a lot of things to say about him. Alberto Del Rio. So I don't want to say I wasn't listening. Just hasn't been mentioned. He won the first ever 40-man Royal Rumble. He was in there with the last participant, Santino Marella. I mean, what's all that about? He went on to WrestleMania to lose in the opening match. It's the first time a World Heavyweight title match had opened a show. We're kind of used to it now, but at the time it was absolutely horrendous. And he lost, and Edge retired. So, yeah, it makes absolutely zero sense. I do just want to say that when he first came in, I absolutely loved his character. I loved him coming out in that limo. And I loved his personal ring announcer. And I actually thought his first sort of 18 months heel run was brilliant. And actually, if he'd have won the title at WrestleMania, then he wouldn't be on this list. It's not his fault. He was booked in the final with Santino Marella. I think, that didn't help him at all. But he didn't win the title. It was a poor match, poor build to WrestleMania as well.
And a poor WrestleMania.
Well, yeah. I mean, it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, if anyone hasn't checked out our worst of WrestleMania videos, go back and watch that because WrestleMania 27 appears. Let's just put it that way. I won't spoil where it appears, but it appears. So yeah, I'm with you boys. And so far, I think if Andy's keeping count here, Alberto's quite possibly in the lead here for this.
I actually hadn't for a change. Hold up, let me get this right. So, we'll cut.
Thank God for that. I'll go. My number 3 is Ronda Rousey. Surprise.
Wow.
Yeah, well, that's why I didn't want to say too much. She came back. There's no build. There's no passion. She doesn't want to be there. She'd rather be at home with her fabulous husband, Travis Brown, and live a happy life on their farm, growing chickens. She came in, when she first came in, she came with a lot of hype. You're talking about the Rowdy Piper thing. Well, that was her gimmick in UFC anyway. She always loved Roddy Piper, so she paid homage to him by doing the whole fucking t-shirt, leather jacket, miniskirt. She could have been amazing, but she's just not cut out for wrestling, for professional wrestling, for sports entertainment at all. And didn't even mention the fact that she went to Mania and she lost. So that whole Royal Rumble program for months was just a complete waste. She eliminated Charlotte, and Charlotte was the champ at Mania. So why not just give it to Charlotte?
Greatness shines through.
Indeed. and I'll give love to Charlotte because she's one of the GOATs. However, that being said, we have spoken enough about Ronda Rousey. We shall move on to Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. Catch a booger on your toe. Andy.
Well, my number 3 is Mr. Dave Bautista in 2014.
Well, bloody hell, this is good.
This is really good. This is going to be real tight, real tight. I don't think there's anything that hasn't already been said, to be fair. How dare they? I mean, obviously they announced Batista, I think, as returning in the Rumble prior to the show, and then had him come out at number 30. At no point was Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan, by the way, was the single most over person in the entire company at this point, and was getting reactions similar to what he got following this as part of the Yes Movement every single week. And yet they had him fight Bray Wyatt, which, don't get me wrong, his little feud and his little set to with Bray Wyatt was excellent, especially when he sort of in the cage took off the overalls and became Daniel Bryan again. That was excellent. But people have done double duty on Royal Rumbles before, so why not? You know, this was a calculated decision to exclude Daniel Bryan from the Royal Rumble match. There's no way. I guarantee if someone was to ask Vince now, was it always your intention to have Daniel Bryan go over at WrestleMania 30? He'll say yes. At no point was that his intention. No way, no how. He was supposed to face Sheamus on that card, and that's the length and breadth of it. You know, it was supposed to be Punk and Hunter, Randy and Batista, Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus, and it was only through sheer power of will from the audience and from Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson himself that he managed to get into the main event. As for Batista, he'd lost a step or two in his time away, and yeah, like you said before, his spears looked like shit. His gear didn't hold up. There's a good video online about how he's putting his boots on, his trainers on, and they all split, and then he runs around the backstage trying to get them fixed. Pick better boots, mate. Laces, you can't go wrong with a pair of laces. So, yeah. But, hey, nitpicking. Daniel Bryan should have won that match. End of.
Indeed. David?
Well, yeah, I agree. Now, funny enough, I am not going to pick Dave Bautista at this moment. However, I do actually agree with everything that you're saying. And to a certain degree, I might have forgotten about that second win that he had in the Royal Rumble. But my number 3 pick is probably going to shock everybody because...
Bret Hart?
Oh, no, I think I know who it is. Can I guess?
Go on, then.
Triple H? 2016?
No, that's just silly, isn't it? Because thank God he saved that pay-per-view. No, so it's quite simply Mr. McMahon. And for me, this is just based on the fact that it's my second worst, in my opinion, it's my second worst Royal Rumble match as a Royal Rumble match. It had this fantastic story of Austin and Vince starting as 1 and 2. And I remember as a fan watching it going, well, how the hell can either of them win and be in it at the end? Because there was no one else in the Rumble that was going to win that match. You know, it had no one else was in a decent position. Even Triple H had dropped back down in DX. He'd just come back from knee surgery. Owen Hart had dropped back down. You know, no one looked like they were going to win that apart from Austin or McMahon. And for me, that just ruined the entire match. And I don't think Vince needed to win. Vince could have screwed Austin without being in the Rumble. It did lead to their cage match at St. Valentine's Day Massacre, which was great. But, yeah, for me, it was just one of the worst Rumble matches. And it's Vince McMahon, for God's sake, you know. I mean, if we ever do a worst WWF champion, I mean, he's got to be on that list as well. Yeah, just didn't need it. Didn't understand why that happened. But, yeah, that's it for me.
Interesting. I have that logged in as your number 3 pick. Our number 2 picks now. If you'd like, I can go first, as I don't think I've actually gone first yet. My number 2 pick is the head of the table, Roman Reigns from 2015. And I've put here, this is my note for this. We get it already. You want him to be the guy. Fuck you, we don't. And that's basically my status on the whole situation. In 2014, he was actually really, really over, and he was getting cheered when he got eliminated by Batista, I think, or Rusev,
Yes.
one of the two.
I forgot to mention that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Come 2015, he's been jammed so far down our throats and made to look strong by everyone on the roster so much that it's like, we get it, we don't want him. Even The Rock coming out couldn't save the fact that he was booed out of the fucking arena. And The Rock's visual at the end of this Mania, where he's like holding Roman's hand up and then just sort of goes, what the? Why am I being booed? Because Roman had toxic nuclear heat at the time. Nobody wanted him to win. And the fact that I think he also eliminated Bryan Danielson in this match.
Yeah,
I remember
like
rightly.
really early on.
Really early. And yeah, phew, that was never going to go down well. So yeah, Batista. No, Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, number 2 for me. Ah, dear. My pills have taken effect. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree to a point. I think the following year was probably worse. I think people still wanted Daniel Bryan to win. People were still upset about 2014. He'd come back, made a triumphant return. I think people still wanted him to win. I think that was the main issue. I think that was the bigger issue this year or in 2015 than everybody absolutely hating on Reigns, because actually his match with Brock Lesnar and then it turned into a triple threat match wasn't that bad. And the build to that was, you know, can anyone beat Brock Lesnar? And it was yes, he can. But yeah, 100% the fans wanted Daniel Bryan over that. I actually think people hated Roman Reigns more the following year, for all the points that you've mentioned about Roman Reigns being shoved down throats and whatnot. I think that had escalated to that. But yeah, I can see why you've got him on there, mate.
This was almost like, in terms of Royal Rumble winners, obviously I had to include him because he didn't win the following year. But it was a case of, this was the genesis, I think, of everyone dawning on the fact that, oh, Jesus Christ, we're going to have to put up with this for a long time. And Vince was never going to turn around and be like, actually, no, you're right. Let's change character. Let's change tack. It was never going to happen. And you're absolutely right. We got it for several years afterwards. Their match at Mania between Roman and Brock was half decent until Seth got involved, and then it became an all-time main event. The heist of the century, fantastic. But the build to it, don't forget the build to it also included the snowstorm, where they had to do a full episode of Raw with no matches in it because people couldn't reach the arena. I think that was sometime in February, I think, or February or March. But there was a horrendous snowstorm in the eastern United States, and they couldn't actually film a proper Raw. And they ended up just doing a face-to-face promo between Brock and Roman that was just dog shit, absolute dog shit. But yeah. Anyway, sorry, I must allow you guys to go ahead and move on. Who would like the next number 2?
Go on, Fraz.
Yeah. Roman Reigns, 2015. See you later. That's why I was a little bit annoyed that you elaborated on there, because there were some things you didn't say that I was going to.
Oh, sorry, darling. I do apologise.
You know, we're in agreement here. WWE said it was he's our guy, and we all said no, he's fucking not. Simple as that. I mean, the hatred for Roman Reigns. He is the reason why I stopped watching wrestling from around that point to up until 2 years ago. 2 or 3 years when he became the tribal chief. Unfortunately, they did the wrong thing at the wrong time. But it did lead to the greatest cash-in of all time, and my GOAT, Seth Rollins, winning at WrestleMania. So I do thank him for that.
Yep.
You know,
maybe that's why it's your number 2 rather than your number 1.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Right, Davey, your number 2?
Oh, my number 2 is pretty old school. I'm going to go back to 1990, and I pick the WWF champion at the time, Hulk Hogan. That's right, because this is before Rumbles meant that you went to WrestleMania. absolutely no reason for him to win this match. No real reason for him to be in this match. He's the most over person. We're heading into WrestleMania 6. Vince McMahon has spent 2 years building the Ultimate Warrior. They have a huge face-off in this Rumble, which is incredible. The first time they're ever in the ring at the same time. Amazing moment, absolutely fantastic. Warrior somehow manages to get eliminated, and Hogan goes on to win it. Doesn't make any sense. We know that WrestleMania is going to be Warrior and Hogan. Although Hogan didn't eliminate Warrior, it doesn't make any sense. On top of that, Hogan was currently doing a massive doing a massive run with Mr. Perfect at the time, who was a heel. Mr. Perfect came out number 30, the perfect number. Even he could have won. That would have been so much better. So clearly two far more important people could have won that match. The Ultimate Warrior and Mr. Perfect at that time, who was still undefeated in the WWF. So yeah, it just made no sense. And for people thinking, oh well, it's Hulk Hogan, he's got to win. He was in the 1989 Royal Rumble. He came in at number 15. He's eliminated by number 20. So if it didn't hurt him that year, why did he have to win it this year? Doesn't make any sense. Total waste of time. Did nothing for anyone. And WrestleMania 6 drew less than WrestleMania 5. Some people say it's because it was face versus face, not heel versus face. But I've got to say that I think that Rumble win damaged it because, like I say, 2 years of building the Ultimate Warrior, who is going to win at WrestleMania, but you kind of have Hogan go over him at the Rumble. No sense whatsoever.
Can't argue here. You know my feelings on Hulk Hogan.
As I said to you, I steered clear of the earlier Royal Rumbles just on the premise that they were still trying to work out, how a Royal Rumble works. But I get what you're saying, and you retorted with, well, if you're going to put it out there, it's up for criticism.
Some really clever guy that I know has said that on several of these podcasts. So I just thought, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Exactly.
Why the hell not?
And it's Hulk Hogan. Everyone hates him.
We're down to the last
We're
pick.
down to the number one. So in the interest of the fact that I stood on your toes earlier, Fraz, by all means, take your number one pick.
Well, David has already taken my number one pick with Mr. McMahon, 1999. That was my worst Royal Rumble winner ever. Just purely because the whole point in entering the Royal Rumble is to get a title shot at WrestleMania. And he's the boss. He then relinquished his title shot the next night on Raw. It's like your teacher at school saying, here's some homework, I'm going to do it as well, and gives himself an A star. Like, made no sense. Makes no sense. And the fact that, as you said, Dave, it was obvious. It was either Austin or Vince ruined the match. Everyone wanted Austin to win. Austin then went on to win the title at Mania, did he not?
He did indeed.
Yeah. It just sucked ass, as I like to say on this show. Big time. Wasn't even in the Rumble. He came out and then sat with JR for most of the match. Came out and eliminated Austin.
Michael Cole went, I think, and Jerry Lawler. He escaped the ring, ran to the toilets. Austin followed him, and it was a trap, and all the corporation beat up Austin. And because you're not allowed to say hospital, Austin was then taken to a local medical facility for about 10 entrances in the Rumble while Vince did commentary. And I think actually it was just after the Big Boss Man's entrance. It might have been 22, 23. Austin returned.
Which is one of my main points as well as to why he is the worst Royal Rumble winner. Because Boss Man was in the last four.
I know.
You know.
Yeah, wasn't it like Boss Man, Owen Hart?
No, it's Boss Man, D'Lo Brown, Stone Cold, and Vince McMahon with the last four.
Right. And I think just before that was like Jeff Jarrett, Triple H, and Owen
Hart.
But none of them, all of them, interestingly enough, had dropped their pedigree since the previous year's Royal Rumble. Triple H was in a better position in DX in 98, being second to Shawn Michaels. He'd dropped quite a bit at this point. Owen Hart had dropped massively from being the original Blackheart, and Jeff Jarrett had dropped down as well. So, you say it in black and white and you go, oh, yeah, that's not a bad final six people. But actually, their characters were nowhere near nowhere near winning a Royal Rumble. Just nowhere.
So yes, ladies and gentlemen, Fraz's worst Royal Rumble winner is Mr. Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
If I may take the opportunity to piggyback on that, he is the worst ever Royal Rumble winner by a clear margin, Mr. McMahon. I spoke earlier on about nepotism. It's fucking unbelievable. The sheer fact that, we criticize people like Vince Russo for booking himself as the world champion. This guy booked himself to win the Royal Rumble, and then, like Fraz said, basically just was like, so he came out the next night and was like, I don't want to challenge for the world title because I don't want to face The Rock or something. And then Sean came out as the commissioner and said, well, if you're not willing to fight The Rock, then we'll hand it to the guy that finished second. And it's like, what is this, a fucking beauty pageant? In the case of Miss World, if Miss World is in any way incapacitated and cannot fulfill her duties, it goes to the runner-up. Go fuck yourselves. Just put Austin over and have done with it. It's the fact that they didn't want to. It's the fact that they didn't want to do 3 in a row, and they saved it for 2001, which meant nothing. Was that 3 in a row? Or was that 2?
That would have been 3 in a row. He'd have won 97,
he did win 3, didn't he? Yeah, he won 3.
He won 3, the 2001.
I can't remember. But yeah, so yeah, why not win 3 in a row and then let Rock win the 2001 or something? I don't know. But either way, very, very poor form from a man who owns the company, and yeah, we hold him in. I hold him in the same regard as someone who booked himself to win the world heavyweight title, like Vince Russo. So.
Oh yeah, Jesus Christ. Well, I mean, ironically, this show was written by Vince Russo. So what does that tell you?
There you go.
That's probably
Dave.
That's why he got all these ideas from. Okay, yeah. I mean, obviously Vince is in mine. Again, I went older school. I appreciate why you guys didn't. That makes perfect sense. Hindsight says we probably should have gone with 93 onwards. But I'm not going to go. Little honourable mention to the winner of the first ever Royal Rumble, which is Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Big John Studd.
And the reason I liked Hacksaw Jim Duggan is because he was building a feud with Andre the Giant. It was quite important at the time. So it made sense for him to win. For me, if I'm going to sit there for an hour and get invested in a match, then, it's got to make sense. I might not like who wins, but there's got to be some sort of sense to it. It's like watching an Iron Man match. It's like you don't want to watch an Iron Man match and it's a draw unless you have overtime and it goes crazy like Shawn Michaels. But so for me, the 1989 Royal Rumble, the first pay-per-view Royal Rumble, it's Big John Studd. This Rumble's insane. Andre the Giant comes out number 3, eliminates himself. Axe and Smash start the Rumble, which was great. Savage comes in, he's the champ at 13, I think. Hogan comes in at 15 and is out by 21, 22. And then the Rumble dies. It dies an absolute death. It's brilliant up to that point. Hogan double clothesline and eliminates the Brain Busters. There's loads of really cool spots. Mr. Perfect's first Rumble is in pants, by the way, not a singlet. So many good guys. Jake the Snake gets massacred by Andre the Giant, and he comes back with Damien, and that's why Andre throws himself over the rope. But then literally, as soon as Hogan goes out, it all goes to pot. Everybody after that, none of them look like they're going to win, apart from the $1 Million Man, who's bought the number 30 number. So why the hell didn't he win? No idea why, because he'd just won the King of the Ring 2 months before, so he should have won this. But no, Big John Studd's returned. I mean, and that's it. He doesn't do anything else. He comes back, he wins the Royal Rumble, he guest referees Andre the Giant versus Jake the Snake at WrestleMania 5, and that's it. He doesn't do anything else. An absolute and total complete waste of everybody's time. And as Lord Alfred Hayes once said, Big John Studd off the top rope. Well, for me, he can jog right on out of the building and should never return to the first one. What an absolute waste of time. Having said that, from a nostalgia point of view, it is a main event Royal Rumble. There is so many main event talents and Hall of Fame talents in there, and there are some really, really good spots. It is a good Rumble to watch, but Jesus Christ, the last sort of 3 or 4 entrants and Big John Studd winning.
Yeah, he was honourable mention, him and Hacksaw, but as I alluded to earlier, I just didn't want to put them in the top 5 because WWE was still trying to work, or WWF at the time was still trying to work out what it meant to win the Royal Rumble and what happens to the winner.
I get that. I definitely get that. But I think
had Sheamus, I had Lex Luger, I had Shinsuke as well.
Yeah, I had
Perfectly
him.
fair, perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
I had Charlotte Flair, but 2020.
Oh, she deserved that one though.
I don't know. I think there were
Went and
better
buried
people
Rhea
that
with it.
won that, yeah. Randy.
Well, Rhea's done all right, isn't she?
I had Randy,
Randy?
in 2017. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that one with
Same
Bray.
thing.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
I
that
forgot
wasn't
about that.
great. But that was a great Rumble. But yeah, you're probably
Yeah,
right.
it was a good Rumble, but just
Yeah, no, you're right.
I love Randy.
The payoff was Worms projected on a mat.
Yeah, that was pretty poor. Wasn't it? Fair. No, I agree with all of the ones that all of you guys have said, apart from Charlotte Flair, Andy, and your honourable mentions. To be fair,
Who won, Andy?
Well, I think I actually was expecting. I was expecting there to be a tie because I genuinely thought Dave was going to go for Roman. He threw a massive spanner in the works with being John Studd. So we have our confirmed top three. In third place with 5 points is Alberto Del Rio, Delberto El Rio, Rioberto Del Rio, whatever you want to fucking call this dickhead. He's third. In second place, you've got Roman Reigns with 8 points, and by far and away the worst ever Royal Rumble winner is Mr. Vincent Kennedy, Touchy Feely McMahon, with 13 points, and there we have it. The man who liked people kissing his bottom wins the worst ever Royal Rumble winner.
I reckon he must have pissed on someone when he was writing this script.
He wasn't R. Kelly.
Is that too controversial? Has it not been proven yet? I mean, allegedly pissed on someone while he was writing this script. I don't want to be sued.
I didn't know he was pissing on people. I thought it was an R. Kelly deal.
No, him allegedly, you know, but
Anyway, we're moving down a path that we can't afford in terms of legal fees. So let's carry on. Demonetized. If you'd like to help us pay for our legal fees, please do hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with as many people as you can, because hell knows we're going to need the money. Yeah. I want to thank my co-hosts for this adventure, Dirty Dave and Fraz, and yeah, I just want to say thanks to everyone who's watched, and have a great rest of your weekend.